Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. The narcissist is a sad situation, any which way you look at it. So let's jump in.
Ada yang baru nih. Ada yang baru nih.
When it comes to the narcissist, I don't want y'all to think I haven't grieved for the narcissist or don't care about the situation that they're dealing with. Because I do. And I was with several. We all have them in our family. We have dealt with them and we have dated them, the whole thing, right? We spent probably most of our life with them. Unbeknownst to us, what we were dealing with. I think when you really hate them is kind of like, usually you've been hurt real bad and it's like a time of healing. And you can't, I don't judge that because I had my time of hating the narcissist. But over time, I knew it was a process that I was going through, that my empathetic side would come back to life in regards to that. And it did. And it will. It's just sometimes there's a lot to mow over. And some people have been hurt more than others because they stayed into these relationships much longer than others. And because I talk about their spirit and their soul and what has kind of happened to them, it doesn't mean that I don't care. In fact, I have dug in so much to some degree to see if I could help and what I found. And I was just like the rest of y'all, you know, in the very beginning, you find out they're a narcissist. And the first thing they tell you not to do is to tell them anything. Just keep it a secret. But I know, being an empath, and I'm sure I can speak for all y'all, you probably did the same thing I did, is you tell them. Why? Because in your empathy state, because you didn't know what it was, you figure that they don't know what it is either. And so you feel that if you can enlighten them on the fact that they don't know how they're operating and acting, and you tell them who they are and what they have become based on this title, this diagnosis, right? They would want to get help. And that you could lead them to them getting some sort of fix. You know, it's going to be an easy fix. You know what they are. So you go to them and you tell them, hey, I looked up all the stuff that you've been doing to me and found out, you know, you realize you're a narcissist. But, you know, let's go get some help for you, you know, that kind of thing. But they don't want to hear that. And then you learn over time between listening to others on all these channels, investigating for yourself, if you've really dug in, looking up deliverance, because you found out and realized at some point, some of y'all have realized, like I have, that it's a spiritual issue. It's not at all just a psychological issue. And I started there. So I don't want y'all to think that I was closed-minded enough to just jump right to that conclusion that they're possessed, because I didn't. I learned from first Googling these symptoms and landed on narcissism. And even all through college and stuff, as much as we went over narcissism and different personality disorders and diagnoses of psychiatric stuff. We went through that department of things so fast that I don't even know on any of my exams if I had any questions dealing with this narcissism stuff. So you can even have taken psychology classes and really not really focused on this type of stuff too much. But I guess it's kind of crazy because there's things that can be glazed over while you read through stuff, or even when you experience things and they could be right in front of your face. A lot of times what happens is it has to hurt you bad enough for your eyes to be open to what is going on for you in your life and around your life. When you get injured enough and you get hurt enough, it'll let you see clearly a lot of times if you have truth in you. The problem with the narcissist is they know what they are and they deny any function of goodness. There are people that have said that they have delivered them. I have seen demonic faces and stuff, and a lot of y'all that have listened to me have known this. I've seen demonic faces, smirks, and I had time stand still where I saw several faces, and this narcissist morph into several different faces, and then I was followed for a month or two, stalked and I unmasked one of the stalkers as well. And I can rehash that if you like. If you want to hear that experience, just let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do another video on that. But I guess what I'm getting at is what landed me on the fact that this was a spiritual issue. What hit me after I was learning the psychological side of things, what hit me one day like a ton of bricks was these arguments, specifically this one that we got into. Of course, it was about nothing special. It was about, a cheating situation that she had done to me and was trying to gaslight, and she was gaslighting and denying. And I remember that conversation, it hit me because my intuition was coming on, getting turned back on, because I'd been away from her, and it hit me, was I dealing with a demon in a meat suit? Is kind of basically what my inside voice told me. That's exactly what it said. Am I dealing with a demon in a meat suit? And I couldn't grab my phone fast enough to search demonic possession and narcissism when I did a whole new slew of things that popped up that wasn't related to the psychological side. People seeing faces, black eyes, and all these different things. So from there, I started to research both sides of it. And it was just kind of blowing my mind, because I had known for a time that these individuals are not like humanity at all. They just don't operate like us. And the last one was so destructive. The more destructive they become, and the more evil they become, the less character of humanity that you see. So it's easier to some degree that the more evil they are, it's weird because they can act a little bit better, quite a bit better. They can put the act on, and they have more power with their gaslighting and abilities to do that, and to win arguments and situations, and to play it cool, unlike, say, the borderline. But also, they can be so destructive, and that's where you kind of will see through their facade a lot of times. And you'll see through the lying and the acting, because what's crazy is they're really not the best actors in the world. But because that spell has got you intertwined with them before you wake up, and you're kind of spellbound, it's almost like you can know that they're a terrible actor and you could see through it, but yet you're kind of in self-denial of it to some degree, because it takes you a while to get firm proof and evidence. The empath is always searching for, because we like to be a righteous judge, meaning when we judge somebody, we want to have good full evidence that we're judging the book correctly. And so when you get into these evildoers, the harder they get, the more evil they get, it's harder to catch them, or for them to accept or admit anything at all. I mean, even the lower end and the borderlines don't admit to anything, but it's kind of interesting how you can see through them easier. And when you get into the more destructive ones, they are good at gaslighting themselves out of it, gaslighting you out of believing they have done anything, because they also do this double down of their lies, and they're very good at that. I mean, I have to give them to them there. Now, when it's time for them, and they're in a corner and they're trying to get out of that corner, they are crazy, ridiculous with how they can manipulate to get out of it. We don't believe in competing, so we do fall trap for the triangulation in the early onset. Eventually, it gets to a point to where you've invested so much time and energy, it gets worse for you, because in the beginning, it's like it kind of bothers you a little bit, but you feel like that it's kind of BS, and you kind of know they're playing with you a little bit. But as you spend more and more time with them, you start to get to a place and a point in time to where you're like, look, man, I've spent this much time investing in you, and you're still trying to triangulate me. They start to bring up these situations about, the opposite sex is really leaning towards they're flirting with them or wants to date them, but they're with you. And they kind of bring up these situations, and they get you into this jealousy kick for a time. But truly, empathic people are not in for competition. We don't like that. That's not how humanity's supposed to be, and we know that. But this is what they lead you into. They lead you into that. They lead you into the chase. They lead you in through the breadcrumbing and the hot and cold and the addiction of the trombone, right? And I guess what I'm trying to say is I have spent a lot of time, and I think that where deliverance bashers will say they delivered Leviathan and Jezebel and these people that had these demons in them, and that they made narcissists set free, They weren't, in my humble opinion, they might have been the Jezebel spirit or the Leviathan spirit and demons in them. But for a narcissist to become who they are, they have to sacrifice their true self, just like I spoke on yesterday. That the entity that meets with them, whether it is a imaginary friend or a spirit or a physical looking being that only they can see, that talks them into these things, they somehow give themselves up to where they cannot turn this thing around. What I'm getting at is when somebody is demon possessed with even these same spirits, they were in a state of somewhat wholeness, and they had their soul and their spirit intact together, that they had all the parts and the pieces, and they hadn't give up on the fruits of the spirit. They still had a connection there, and they were able to see their way out. The narcissist, when they give up on these situations, they give up and build this construct almost before or at the same time that this demon is possessing them. So the construct is already there. It's like almost like they are to the point of, whether this is some sort of covenant and agreement and commitment that it cannot be reversed because they sacrifice this true self for the mask and get infilled, and that thing becomes their god. There's different things that can occur, but one thing is true: they cannot reverse this. So when you see deliverance pastors that have healed individuals that had these spirits, yes, but they were never narcissists. They were only narcissists while they were demon possessed with these spirits, because it's just like an alcoholic. An alcoholic that is not a narcissist is going to be a narcissist while they're an alcoholic. If you get them recovered, they can have the ability to repair once they get from alcoholism. But in the situation with the demon possessed individuals, same thing. Before the demon, they were somewhat intact, meaning they were hurt individuals, but and needed help spiritually and psychologically, but they still had their intact anatomy and physiology, and they had their pathways, and they had their true feelings still. But then when the demon possesses them, of course, they become narcissists for that time. But when they get delivered, that narcissism will come off of them. But it's almost like a narcissist, if they have the construct built before they're possessed or at the same time of possession, or they have given themselves up to this sacrificial entity and sacrificed their true self and made this thing their god. There's several things that go on here, but one thing is their anatomy changes, so they cannot reverse that. They give up on love, which closes up all 9 of the fruits of the spirit. And this construct, if it was built before they were even possessed, even if, okay, so then their anatomy has changed. So if you get them delivered, if you were even able to get them delivered because they like who they are, so let's say you did even still get them delivered, their anatomy would be fixed. That's why I say they turn themselves into a hybrid state, meaning they're not really humanity anymore, because they have anatomically made changes in their brain that have closed off certain aspects of it. That's why on PETs and MRIs you can see that they are not the same. And what a hybrid is kind of like a mixture of two things. But in Genesis 6, it was the fallen angels mating with human women, had a mixture. It was called a copulation, or a hybrid, which was half human, half fallen angel. That's what the demons are of today. They're the disembodied spirits of the giants from Genesis 6. Fallen angels are different. They were their fathers. Okay, and they're still around too. So fallen angels would be a higher, powerful type entity than a demonic entity, because they have the ability to do more, and their creation was different from the demonic. But nevertheless, they're almost like, so they almost would, with that construct before they were possessed or at the time of possession, it doesn't matter. With that anatomical change, it makes them almost like a demon in physical form. If you cannot feel love, you're a demon in physical form. I mean, you might as well be, because the only thing that separates humanity from an animal, and even animals feel love. That's the thing. They're even more evil than the beast of the field, man. I mean, because an animal will take care of their cubs and stuff and protect them, and they have loyalty. The narcissist, none of these things. So even in creation outside of humanity, you see even the roughest animal that has fangs to destroy, they still have some sort of love and care and some sort of fruit. Isn't that interesting? But the narcissist has none. And still you want to say there's nothing spiritual orchestration, no spiritual orchestration here, and that kills me. But I have gone down the road to try to investigate to get them delivered. And I looked into all the different aspects of it. But when you look over the whole face of the earth and you can't find one case of deliverance that really is for real, and there is not one case. I mean, a self-aware narcissist is not somebody who's been corrected. They're still fixed with no empathy, and they will tell you this. And they also Don't say anything about spiritual aspects, because they can't. When you're fixed, you can't speak on certain topics because you know nothing about them. All you can do is fake it. And I think that you see self-aware narcissists because of different things. The Lord makes them tell the truth. So they have to tell the truth of everything in this world, even if it's covered with a lie. And also, they're trying to normalize narcissism. Then people can be out there saying they're self-aware narcissists, and it'll be accepted. Trust and believe, if you hear that self-aware narcissist behind closed doors, they are destroying somebody at all times, in my humble opinion. But they have become self-made terminators. But the thing is, the longer you spend your time trying to help the narcissist, you will get destroyed in the whole interim of it. Like, literally and ultimately. And you will eventually, when you're new at this stuff and understanding this, you're going to go down that road, probably. I mean, I did, and a lot of other people did, and I don't blame you, but it's going to hurt you. It's going to be destructive to you. Sometimes you have to go through things because you're hard-headed. I was hard-headed. But they have become self-made terminators to anybody with light in their life. To put them down, to siphon off them, to use them as food and fuel, and to throw them off as trash. They want everybody sad in this world. They want the vibration put low so it can be built and driven so that more of their kind will feel comfortable and to have power over everything, because they need power and control. They run in packs so they can do smear campaigns and do all different things, and it will be more powerful and more believable to the rest of humanity out there in and around these areas where they do these things. And they are just a destructive tool, an instrument for the enemy's use. And you want nothing to do with them. But if you can give me a like, subscription, and a thumbs up. I've cared about the narcissist, but at some point in time, you'll get to a place where you have all this technology on the face of this earth, and you can't find one case where one of them has been fixed. So you have to know that they're reprobate, and they have to be, y'all. Romans 1 or 2 Timothy. And you will get to a point after you've even tried to help them and you've been destroyed several times, you will quit with them, and you will understand where I'm coming from if you don't right now. But I like to dig into the ideology of it and where it started, the pathology of it, because what we're hearing online from others is only half the truth. And so I want to find the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Love y'all. Peace, and soldier up. We out.